Can you hear it? Okay, good. Oh, yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 17th episode of Ted and Papo, the Wrestling Exchange. My name is Ted. I am joined with, as always,
Papo in the house. Welcome back, everybody. Good to have you with us.
Man, we got some exciting stuff to talk about. We got Night Champions. We got the following night's Raw. We got some also other interesting things to talk about. Really, really, really cool stuff. I'm excited. But before we get into all that good stuff, a couple of things. If you enjoy our videos, if you're new or if you've watched us before, please like, comment, subscribe.
Do it.
Hell yeah, do it. And then, of course, you can share. We have a link. I'm going to put the link in the description box below for our Facebook page. Go there, interact with us every week. We'll be basically asking some questions, and you answer the questions, you get a shout out on the show. It's very, very cool. So again, like, comment, subscribe, tell us what you think, tell your friends, so we can bring more of this goodness to your eye holes and possibly your ear holes if you're just listening. That being said, we have September the 21st, 2014 WWE Night of Champions. Now, before we get into this, Papo, did this seem like a glorified episode of Raw that was just like super important and not so much a pay-per-view?
Pretty much. I mean, think about it. We paid $9.99 to watch it on the network, but it was like just a big hashed Raw. That's what it was. That's what the feeling I got when watching this. I mean, there was really nothing spectacular that I was looking at. It was just Raw on a Sunday.
Yeah, I got that feeling too. Although we got some cool stuff to get into, so just jumping heads first. Just a few quick things. Basically, in the past couple of days, we've learned that the son of the late pallbearer Michael Moody, also known as Percy Pringle, he's passed away. So our thoughts go out to the family. And then we have an announcement that was actually done on the WWE Network on this new show. It's not really a show, but it's like a new video segment they're putting on there called Breaking News. Question: Roman Reigns' emergency surgery for his incarcerated hernia, does that mean he's just a B-plus player? Is he just not an A-plus?
Why would you say that, knowing that I'm a Roman Reigns fan? Ted, why would you say that? Why are you're wanting to piss me off? You're wanting to piss me off. I see that now. Right now, we're going to go back and forth with this. So he is not a B-plus player. He is an A-plus player. Once he goes to therapy, he'll be good to go.
Hey, man. All he's got to do is believe.
Really, dude?
All right. Anyway, so on the pre-show to the pay-per-view, we had a segment we haven't seen in a while, a peep show, with Christian. And his guest, of course, is Y2J, and they have a little bit of verbal back and forth, if you will, basically hyping the match between Chris Jericho and Randy Orton. Randy Orton appears on the Tron, talkity talk, yakety yak. Anyway, we're moving on. We have, now, I don't know about you, but every match on this show got progressively better throughout the night. And it's not that the first match wasn't good. It's almost like they went out there knowing that they were just going to steal a show, and it kind of forced everyone else to step their game up. Did you get that feeling too?
Yes, especially with the first match being the tag team titles on the line. And the Usos and the Dust Brothers, they always put on a clinic. So, I mean, they started off really strong. But again, still having that Raw feeling, that pay-per-view feeling, I was still sucked in.
Yeah, man. So that tag team match, it's the Usos versus the Dust Brothers. One of the things that I've noticed, and I'm curious what you think about this, and maybe this is just me being an old-fashioned wrestling fan, is did you find it weird that the champions went out first and then the challengers, and not the other way around where it's first challenger then champion?
Yeah, I did. You know what? The champion should always go out last. I found that kind of odd also, but I mean, I really didn't think too much about it.
Fair enough. I was just curious if you noticed, because I noticed that happens every once in a while, and it just kind of feels weird to have the champion wait for the challenger to show up. If anything, it should be reversed. But I'm glad you're with me on that. Very glad. Moving right along, they had their match. We saw Goldust is rocking new face paint. He's no longer doing the Darth Maul Goldust, which has probably been my favorite look out of all of them so far, because he's just so cool and sinister. But now he's kind of doing the black base for the paint, and then he has this kind of lightning-y, swooping in yellow stuff, and then a slightly different bodysuit. Did you? Which look do you like better? Do you like the Darth Maul Goldust or whatever this is?
Well, the Darth Maul, I mean, it fits him if he's going to go for as a heel. But I'm digging the new face paint. I mean, it's new, it's fresh, and it actually fit for this match. I mean, they did show a darker side to the Dust Brothers since they are turning heel.
Yeah, man, and they really they tore it up this match. Basically, long and the short, the end of the match is basically the one of the Usos, because God knows I can't tell them apart. Basically goes for the frog splash, or what they're calling it, the Samoan splash, which I actually kind of like that they're kind of renaming stuff. I think it's pretty neat. But basically, Stardust counters by bringing his knees up, so that way when one of the Usos come down, its knees right into the abdominals, or as the late great Gorilla Monsoon would always say, into the solar plexus.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Gorilla Monsoon mark. I think he was one of the best play-by-play guys ever. Not JR level, but right beneath. So if I had to rank them, I'd say like Gordon Soley, JR, and then Gorilla. But he was amazing. Anyway, hey, Cody gets a roll up for the win. New WWE Tag Team Champions. I got 2 questions for you, Papo. Number 1, did you like how it played out? Because I'm sure you, as well as I did, enjoyed the match. And do you think they waited too long for the title change? Or this should have been something done earlier?
Actually, I'm quite happy with the time frame that they had. I mean, it played out perfectly with one of the Usos getting a knee injury and then stretching it out and playing the drama. It fit in perfect timing, and then the belts switch hands. So, I mean, this actually builds up to a rematch that I foresee. So, as of right now, I mean, I'm waiting to see what unfolds with the next coming events up to the next pay-per-view.
Very cool. I'm with you, and I'd like to see this feud continue. Keeping this ball rolling after this match, do you have any other thoughts on that match, or should I just keep this ball rolling?
Let's keep rolling, doo-doo.
Keeping it rolling. We had a backstage interview with this guy, Byron Scott. He interviews Dolph Ziggler and R-Truth. So most people may not be familiar with Byron Scott, but he's done a lot of stuff on NXT. He's actually really, really good, especially on commentary, and I see big, big things for him in the future. I hope he sticks around, because listening to him is almost kind of like listening to Matt Striker, but not quite. And I'm a big fan of Matt Striker, and my ear itches. And I really wish he would come back. But after that segment, that interview segment, we had a U.S. title match, where, again, we mentioned a few moments ago how each match just gets progressively crazier and crazier and better and better. Was it just me, or did Sheamus and Cesaro for the U.S. title, did they just not tear the house down, and blow the roof off at the same time?
This match was awesome. If you have a chance, please go back and review this match. They did tear the house down. I'm totally with you, Ted. I mean, they were doing, it was back and forth. I mean, it was like the perfect match. And let me tell you, Sheamus uses power. Cesaro uses power. And I did see a lot of wrestling moves in there, which is like strange for Sheamus. Because Sheamus actually is a powerhouse where he's just a brawler, period. Not really wrestling savvy, but overall a great brawler. So, and Sheamus gets the win. Your thoughts on this, Ted?
I thought it was killer. I thought it was really, really good. I liked that they went straight to the technical wrestling in the very beginning because they're both really, really good, right? And I know that there's a lot of people that make careers out of being brawlers and whatnot that would seem to not possess any technical ability. But you can recall a guy like, for example, Mick Foley, who made his career being off of being the hardcore guy. Like, that was his gimmick. But yet, if you had ever seen him wrestle technically, you knew that he could go. He could definitely chain wrestle. So it's really just guys playing to their strengths. So I think most of them can do it, but it's a matter of being able to do it well and execute it well with the other person. That being said, they had a really kick-ass wrestling bit. And I know a lot of people wanted to get to the fighting. I enjoyed it. I liked the whole like catch can beginning. And so let me just flip back to my notes here. Yeah, man, I dug it. And I noticed that Cesaro used a move called an Alpamare, I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, or Alpamare water slide. Now, I didn't know much about him or this move previously, except for it's featured in the WWE 2K games as the Alpamare water slide, exactly what I said. Turns out that this is a move he used on the Independents when he wrestled under the name Claudio Castagnoli. So very interesting because I watched. If you get a chance, check out like top 25 moves of Cesaro or top 25 of Claudio Castagnoli. It's on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, type it up, and you'll see some crazy stuff. And that's just one of them. And that just goes to show how good he is. But yeah, man, I thought they tore it up. Sheamus wins and retains the U.S. title. Quick segue, or not even really a segue, just a quick thought. How would you feel? Because this feud can't go on forever. How would you feel about transitioning Sheamus in the near future into a feud with Rusev, only for Rusev to come out on top as the U.S. champion?
The irony is awesome. That is so awesome. Rusev being pro-Russia and then walking around with the U.S. championship. That's pay-per-view material right there, dude. That is pay-per-view material.
Call me, Vince. I got
Call
ideas.
him. He's got ideas.
So,
do it.
Is there anything else you wanted to touch on this just awesome, just as JR would put it, a slobber knocker? Any other thoughts that you had on that before we kind of roll into our next segment here?
The only other thought I have is that it was refreshing to watch these two actually technically wrestle instead of just using brute force and brawling. So, I mean, it was an awesome match all around. My hat's off to both of them. No hat on, so all right, let's keep the ball rolling.
Keeping the ball rolling. The next match is a match between Miz and Damien Mizdow, along with Dolph Ziggler and R-Truth. But before we actually get into that, there's a little bit of setup that occurs here. There's apparently a country group. I don't know. I don't know what's hip. You know, I don't listen to the radio stations where all these kids know all the music. So, but apparently they're a very popular country music group, Florida Georgia Line. Cool. Whatever. Apparently they're publicizing that they're going to be appearing with Tribute to the Troops. Again, cool. That's a thing that WWE does. I like the idea. Very neat. The way the situation plays out here lends me to kind of fall into that angry wrestling fan. I'm going to try really hard not to do that. So what I want to do is basically talk about the match, and we'll talk about their involvement in a second.
Yeah.
What did you think of this match?
Honestly, I'm getting kind of tired of this feud. I mean, it actually is quite dragging. I know you love Mizdow, and I've always been an R-Truth fan. Since he was K-Quick back in the days. I've actually was able I was actually able to talk to him on AOL Instant Messenger. Asked questions, and he was really cool. So I was able to actually got one-on-one talk with him. A really cool guy, down to earth.
Didn't he also
So
wrestle in Smoky Mountain? Wasn't he also there too? Smoky Mountain
I
Wrestling?
believe so. I believe so. But I know he was K-Quick when he first came to WWE, and then next thing I knew he was in TNA, and he actually held gold in TNA. So I don't know why they're dragging with him right now. So
Yeah, he's a guy who's one of those. He's really athletic and he's an incredible performer, but I always feel like he's really underused. Like he could be doing something better here. Plus, I'm not a big fan. The stunt double thing. I think we touched on this because this was an episode of Raw last week. The stunt double thing works for Miz because he's Hollywood, right? It doesn't work for Ziggler. It just seems like a stupid TV writer idea, just to be like, hey, let's give him a stunt double too. It's dumb. Stop it. It's horrible. Awful. Call me. I'll tell you if it's good or not.
well, Ziggler's from Hollywood also.
Hollywood, Florida, man.
Florida. Hollywood.
I'd rather see the Spirit Squad get back together. And I think I'm alone in this. I was a huge fan of the Spirit Squad. Those guys were awesome. They just never got to that point. Because, they were basically there to job out the DX and all that. But those guys were incredible. Plus the 5-on-1 gimmick, it's just great. So moving on, they basically had a pretty good match in my opinion. There's a spot in this match where Damien Mizdow gets in the faces of the Florida Georgia Line guys. And this is where we kind of veer off into angry wrestling fan territory. I don't mind a personality putting their hands on a wrestling talent. But in my opinion, and you can go back historically, the ones that make the most sense or the ones that make any sense at all if it's another athlete. Take, for example, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, speaking of Gorilla Monsoon, Muhammad Ali got into the ring with Gorilla Monsoon. I used to have that match on tape. I forget when and where it was, but it was either in the WWF or the WWWF, which is the precursor, Vince's dad's organization. And you had guys like Muhammad Ali. You've had Tyson. You've had who's the guy with Bam Bam Bigelow at 11? Lawrence Taylor. Steve Mongo McMichael in the WCW, and then that other guy. I think he played for the Carolina Panthers. Can't think of his name off the top of my head. But basically, I'm okay with it being an athlete. Whether it's an MMA guy, whether it's a football guy, whatever. Because at that point, you can accept that, okay, this is a high-level athlete. But when you do something physical with a non-physical performer, a guy who sings, which is cool, don't get me wrong. I play a little bit of the guitar myself.
Guitar?
I'm no honky-tonk man, but I don't even think honky-tonk would actually play a lick in his life. Certainly not no Van Hammer, and that's bringing it back if anybody knows who the hell Van Hammer is. But yeah, they basically did this where Mizdow, gets in their face and they punch out Mizdow. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I could buy that with Hugh Jackman doing it to Dolph Ziggler a couple years ago because Hugh Jackman plays Wolverine, and I'm willing to suspend that disbelief because I'm like, dude, he's got adamantium in his fist. It'll knock anybody out. I don't give a fuck.
Right!
But that being said, they really had a good match, and what was it? Basically, Mizdow confronts Florida Georgia Line. He gets punched in the face. Blah, 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 blah. R-Truth chases him to the back. The match basically continues. Sandow runs out and causes a distraction. Miz wins with a roll-up, holding the tights. New Intercontinental Champion. You mentioned that you were tired of this feud. When you say tired of the feud, do you mean tired of the Miz and Mizdow connection, or are you tired of Miz versus Ziggler?
Miz versus Ziggler.
I can get behind that.
The Mizdow, he can stay. He can ride around with Miz and be his flunky for all I care. I mean...
Oh, forever. I think it's the greatest. He should do it forever.
But, I mean, again, I'm tired of watching Miz and Ziggler go at it. I mean, it's actually getting predictable now. So, You can keep the ball rolling when you're ready.
Keeping the ball rolling, Seth Rollins comes out to the rings. Now, as we mentioned earlier, it was stated that Roman Reigns was having, or had, emergency surgery for an incarcerated hernia. I don't even know what that means, but apparently it's down here in the groinal bladder region. From what I understand, in my very layman's terms, it's basically when you have a hernia that gets twisted up around your intestines, and that's estando bueno in Espanol. And basically, not a good thing, which is weird because he had the surgery in in Memphis, right? They were in Memphis. Were they in Kentucky? Screw it, doesn't matter. Point of the matter is that was the match scheduled for the pay-per-view, Seth Rollins versus Reigns, and then Reigns goes over Rollins clean at Raw, only to get surgery that same week and not appear on the pay-per-view. Do you think it's weird that we had that match on Raw and we're just not getting it on pay-per-view due to circumstances? Do you think they prepared for that by giving us that Raw match, or what's your thoughts?
Well, listening over to the interview that they had with Reigns, he has said that the night before he was having abdominal pain. So I don't think they even knew. I don't think he knew that he was going to have surgery. So, I mean, the way it's playing out right now, I think it was just like the last minute change. Because, I mean, they went ahead and they even advertised the Rollins and Reigns match at the pay-per-view. So,
do you think it's weird that there are so many guys out right now due to injury or surgery? Because, of course, we obviously have Daniel Bryan out. We have Roman Reigns out, but also we've got Ryback out, too. I believe he had surgery as well. This is bad, right? I mean, in a way it should be good because it should be opening up spots on the roster. But how many guys do they have? Do you think that this is just a bad trend and they should try reaching out to other people, or do you think maybe this is a good thing, maybe this opens up some doors for some lower card talent?
Well, I mean, it does open up the doors for lower cards to come up and open up different types of storylines, but honestly, an injury is never a good thing, no matter how you look at it. So, I mean, they should start utilizing more of the roster, switch some things around, add new storylines, keep it fresh, so that when these A-plus players come back, they can just put them in where they need to be.
I see what you did there. And don't forget, you know what? We also mentioned Wade Barrett. He's also injured. Hopefully he'll be coming back very soon. So in the long run, this actually might be, I'm not saying that an injury is a good thing, but this might actually work out better for Reigns in the long run, because this may have he may get a much, with the title picture the way it is, right? And you can tell that they're kind of grooming him for the title. It may be better for him to be out for the short term until someone else has already taken the belt off of Brock, because I don't see Reigns doing it, and I don't know if that would necessarily help him at the stage that he's at. But basically, we're rolling right along. Seth Rollins comes out to the ring, cuts a promo on Reigns' injury. Basically, he calls Roman Reigns a pussy. Says he gives Reigns 10 seconds to show, or otherwise he'll be declared the winner by way of forfeit. I love it. Great. Rollins wins by forfeit. Ambrose, and then demands to have his hand raised, and then since he's such a good guy, the A-plus player that he is, issues an open challenge to the entire locker room. Anyone that shows up, I'll face you. You know, Dean Ambrose shows up by a taxi cab, and they go ahead and fight into the crowd. The Authority arrives. They try to break it up. Ambrose gets a chair. He's taken and subdued by officials, and he gets basically carried out with his hands zip-tied behind his back. Did you think it was weird that he took a taxi and he wasn't already in the building?
No, it gave a sense of realism when he came up in the taxi. So, I mean, I dug it. But did he tip the driver?
I don't even know if he paid the driver.
For real.
Like unless he paid him before he opened the door, because once he opened the door, he was gone. He just ghosted him. Being that this had to be something done on such short notice, and how much did you like this? Did you enjoy this?
It was refreshing to see Ambrose back and that he's okay. But they should have let him go. Triple H should have stepped out and be like, let them go. Let them fight. And I see nothing but an awesome match between these two. So, I mean, he open challenge. Ambrose comes out. Let him go. I wanted to see that fight. But still, we have Rollins running like a biatch from Ambrose. So,
So I take it you were not satisfied.
no, I was not.
It wasn't as good as it was for you as it was for me. In a strictly platonic way.
If you say so, Ted.
we all know I don't believe that. Anyway, so we cut back to pay-per-view panel segment. Renee Young, Alex Riley, Booker T, Big Show. How in the hell is Alex Riley still employed? When was the last time that dude wrestled?
I have no idea. I couldn't even tell you, dude. For real.
And he's not bad. I never thought he was bad. I thought he was pretty good, just didn't have the chutzpah. Didn't have that charisma. He just was like, hey, here's another guy that looks great and has a cool hair. And he has a hip toss as a finish. Or no, it's like a hip toss into like a neck breaker. So I guess I would say hypnosis. Whatever. It is what it is. Moving on. We had, and again, we're going back to the statement we made at the opening of the show, where each match of this pay-per-view just keeps getting progressively better. We had Mark Henry in his new cool USA gear versus Rusev, and of course accompanied by Lana. Question.
Sexual chocolate.
Is it just me, or is it that Mark Henry is possibly one of the best performers on the roster, emotionally, just in general, right? I mean, he's just that good. Am I just kind of am I drunk, or am I onto something here?
He has awesome acting skills. He can make the crowd love him or hate him with a faster than shit. Excuse me. He can make the crowd love him or hate him. I mean, during the national anthem, he shed a tear. And let me tell you how the crowd got behind him. I was behind him. As big as he is, the whole world was behind him. So he had the crowd at his back. He had America backing him up going into that match.
And don't forget, too, because we talk about that tear rolling, which I saw, because I was taking notes as a pay-per-view. I had to put my computer down. I was like, damn, Mark Henry's just that good. Remember back, it was probably about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago-ish, he went out and he basically said that he was retiring. I think this was, I'm pretty sure it was on a Raw, and John Cena comes out to, like extend, hey, man, best wishes, I hope everything's cool. And then, Mark Henry's like, stay in the ring, John, because I wanted you to know, like, I've never held that title, and it would really be cool if I could just hold it for a moment. And then he breaks down and cries in this incredible, weird world of wrestling. You're like, holy balls, that guy's good. And then, of course, he grabs Cena, World's Strongest Slam, and it's one of my most favorite heel turns. It was a beautiful thing. So yeah, he can really. I don't think he's the best wrestler or one of the best wrestlers, but he's a really good performer. Like, really good. Very, very underrated. We talked about our predictions last week. I can't recall. I know I said I thought Rusev was going over. You shared that same sentiment, right?
Correct.
So it's safe to say that Mark Henry has let down at least 318 million Americans, and he should be ashamed of himself.
Touche. Total agreement.
Also, another neat, interesting thing, and this is my last point here. In the development of the Rusev character, which I'm becoming a bigger and bigger Rusev fan every week. I initially had a lot of doubts, but the more and more he gets out there and performs, I think he's incredible. He's almost like Vladimir Kozlov if Vladimir Kozlov didn't suck balls. Question. Kind of also reminds me a little bit of Umaga. Did you find it weird that always he looks to Lana, like Lana's his trainer, his handler, and he looks to her and she gives him the command. She's like, "Rusev, crash!" Did you find it weird that in this match he didn't even bother looking for the cue, and afterwards didn't wait for her to release him? Do you think that was just maybe simple oversight, or do you think that's part of a larger story at work?
I feel it's a larger story at work. I mean, Russians are known for training bears. Lana's the trainer, Rusev's the bear, with a tattoo of the Eiffel Tower on his back.
Oh, man. I have so many comments on that. I'm not even going to go into it. Yeah. Yeah. Moving on. We quickly had a Brock Lesnar pre-taped interview with Michael Cole, hyping up the main event. Nothing special. Not as good as the last one they had before his match with John Cena at SummerSlam. Y2J versus Randy Orton. Randy Orton wins this match. Two things. Actually, no, before I ask my question, did you pick Randy Orton for the win or Y2J for the win?
You chose Y2J, I chose Randy Orton, and then you were disappointed in my prediction.
It doesn't surprise me. It sounds like something I would say. Sounds exactly like something I would say. They had a good, solid match. Nothing crazy. What do you think about it?
It was a solid match. I mean, as you stated earlier, the matches progressively got better and better and better as they kept on going through the night. And with this match, I mean, Jericho was on point, Randy Orton was on point, but Randy Orton got the best of Y2J. I mean, I'm a Jericho-holic, I will fully admit, but what I foresee Randy is on his way for his hunt for championship gold. So I believe that he may be on that Brock Lesnar's list for a challenge. So
fair enough. That's understandable. The only reason why I thought that Jericho might go over in this match is because he already had his feud with Wyatt, right? And it kind of doesn't make sense to me because they should have timed it so that way once he was done with Wyatt, he would be out. Because, it's the age-old wrestling tradition that when you leave the territory, you leave on your back, meaning that you leave losing your final match and then you're out the door, right? That's just how. That's the whole reason why the Montreal Screwjob occurred, aside from other issues as far as Medusa and the women's title, things like that. And I fully expected Jericho to go out losing, but I just thought that because it was after the Bray Wyatt feud and it was just this one-off with Orton, you figure he just comes off a loss, give him a win, and then he couldn't go off TV and come back. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know everything. Maybe just most things. Maybe. Anyway, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about regarding this match, or shall we move on to one of the better matches of the evening?
Let's keep this ball rolling.
Keeping it rolling. Backstage segment, again, of course, this gentleman, Byron Saxton, really good at his job. He interviews Brie Bella. Nobody cares because she's not in the Divas Championship match, which I thought for some reason that she was going to be in it. Or maybe I've been drinking too much Four Loko. Who knows? So we had AJ Lee versus Nikki Bella versus Paige in a triple threat match. Now this is the WWE version of the triple threat match, meaning it's non-elimination. The first person to secure a pinfall or a submission wins the title. What do you think about this match? And more specifically, knowing how good AJ is and how good Paige is, what did you think of Nikki in this match?
Honestly, I didn't really think much of her in the match. She was basically just a thorn in both their sides. It should have been just Paige and AJ. Nikki had no business in there whatsoever. I mean, they just Stephanie threw her in just because of the way she looks and the Tiggle bitties.
Wait, so you're saying you don't like Nikki Bella's chesticles?
I did not say that whatsoever, Ted. I am a fan of Tiggle bitties.
See, I like this match, right? And I actually really like Nikki Bella. I like her infinitely better than her sister because it's not that Brie Bella's bad. It's that Brie Bella is super awkward, right? Like she's the type of person that if you were running a territory, you'd put her in a tag team and put the tag team with a manager who do all the talking, right? She doesn't have it, or at least isn't confident enough in what she does. Nikki, on the other hand, very good, very talented. My with her, and I notice this, and more and more every time I see her, a lot of wasted motion, right? Throw somebody into the corner. And then it's one thing if you try to get that heat, maybe taunt the crowd, maybe do something, but instead she'll like throw a girl into a corner and then just like take 2 steps away and then turn around like she's almost indecisive about her movements. Very, very bad. Not good. Like she has everything but that. So hopefully when she gets that straightened out, everything will work out better. But yeah, no, I'm in total agreement with you. I don't think she should have been in this feud because A, it doesn't make any sense. B, she's supposed to be feuding with her sister. So who the hell knows? Pop-O! We got a main event to talk about.
Yes, we do. Yes,
Speaking of
we
main
do.
events. Oh, yes. Oh, yes! We match. Ladies and gentlemen, thrice in a lifetime. Brock versus Cena. This is the SummerSlam rematch. If you don't remember, that's the match where Brock Lesnar raped John Cena and took his lunch money. This match, a little bit different, right? So like the last match, what was it? It was about 17 or so minutes, and 16 of those 17 minutes, Brock Lesnar was on the offense. So a couple of questions, because I don't want to get into the ending of the match yet. So just overall, what did you think about the match itself, A? And B, what do you think about it as far as in comparison with their SummerSlam main event?
Okay. Well, first off, the SummerSlam, that was a straight prison beatdown. John Cena was a victim. In this main event, John Cena was more prepared. He was able to bounce back a little bit quicker than he did from the victim match that we saw. But in this main event, I mean, he was actually able to go ahead and mount an offense. And it actually was a match. It wasn't a murder scene. So, I mean, Cena got off a couple good moves of offense. And then Brock Lesnar, I mean, he was just dominant. And let me tell you, he's got chicken wing legs, dude. Friends don't let friends miss leg workouts.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's something that I always noticed, right? Because he's such a huge dude and he has such tiny legs. But it's not so much that he has tiny legs, is that he doesn't bother to tan them. So he tans. What are the other ones in there? That's strawberry lemonade. Find out which other ones are in there, please. I'm almost done with my drinky drink. I might need another one. But he doesn't tan his legs, right? So not only do his legs look small, which one's that? What?
Lemonade.
Lemonade, not pink lemonade. Give me the pink lemonade, please. But yeah, no, he doesn't. Looks really, really weird and out of place. They did have a very competitive match, much more of a comeback from Cena. But at the end of the day, Cena does not win. So, question: now the finish. How did you like the way the match ended, or did you like it at all?
The match was actually better than the murder scene that we saw at the last pay-per-view at SummerSlam. But when the ending, if you don't mind me doing the play-by-play.
Oh, go for it.
Lesnar's in the STF. Cena's getting ready to make him tap out, and twice he pulls him to the center of the ring. good to go. And it looks like Brock's about to tap, and then Rollins comes in and interferes. Hitting Cena. Cena wins the match by disqualification. And then Rollins throws Cena out the ring and gives Brock Lesnar a curb stomp, which was awesome. I actually rewound it twice just so I can watch it before the replay. It was amazing. He sold the move perfectly. I mean, that's the best I've seen Brock Lesnar sell a move ever.
And he's really good at that.
But this was the best he sold it. And then Rollins goes out to cash in. Cena grabs him before he can get into the ring, so the bell never rung, and chases him out to the back. John Cena wins the match by disqualification, and we both know that a belt can't change on a disqualification.
That's correct, unless there's some sort of weird prior stipulation. Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you, right? They had a really competitive match. I kind of almost didn't want them. Like, I was conflicted. Because on the one side, I wanted to see a really competitive match. I wanted that story to Cena to almost overcome, but still not overcome. But at the same time, I really just wanted to see Brock Lesnar just rip Cena from shreds. Excuse me. But I thought this finish was smart, right? Because it keeps Cena strong, because Cena kind of almost won the match. It keeps Brock strong because he still retains. And it keeps the importance of the Money in Bank briefcase relevant, right? Because it's like, oh, shit, he did go to cash in. And do you think, well, did you, I got the feeling that you were really into the fact that he curb stomped Lesnar, right?
Yes.
Do you think that was necessary for the story that they were telling? Or do you think Lesnar should have just threw Seth Rollins into the 6th row of the crowd?
Thrown him into the 6th row of the crowd. I mean, I could see Lesnar kicking out of any pin that Rollins had for him, and then totally just whipping his ass.
Fair enough.
I'm going to go on the record saying that what Rollins did was a complete rookie-ass move. I mean, he could have waited until Brock Lesnar had tapped out, or at least one of them won the match. Or because even if either one of them won the match, either one was going to be totally just off their game. They're going to be spent, tired, hurt. So it would have been so much more easier for him just to take the belt from either one of them once the match was over.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm in complete agreement with you, right? Because that doesn't make any sense. It does in the sense of what they were trying to accomplish by. Because I got the feeling, I don't know about you, but I got the feeling that we're breaking away from another match between Lesnar and Cena, which I think if we have another match, it's going to dilute what's so good about their dynamic. So I think that they should wait and maybe return to that at another pay-per-view down the line, maybe when it's not for the title. But everybody comes out looking good. But you're right. It's a total rookie move. I would have much rather have seen the attempt. I think what was it, Damian Sandow last year or the year before. He basically, right before he cashed in, he beat John Cena for like 5 minutes with a steel chair, then cashed in. Lost anyway to a one-armed Cena, but hey, who knows?
Yeah.
So that was the Champions. We're going to segue right on into Raw, September the 22nd, 2014. Now, I forget, terrible of me, I forget where Night of Champions took place. I'm tempted to say it was either, shit, I don't remember. But we know that Raw takes place in Memphis. And the show starts out with an opening in-ring promo. Dean Ambrose comes out and calls himself WWE's ugly stepchild. And says he's not going to leave the ring. He's not going to leave until he gets his hands on on Seth Rollins. How excited were you when he did the Stone Cold throw me a beer gesture to the timekeeper? Did that make you excited?
That was hilarious. I loved it. I mean, it had remnants of the Attitude Era, so I definitely appreciated it, especially him being the ugly stepchild.
John Cena comes out moments later, right, and basically says, "Listen, I know you got a good reason to beat up Seth Rollins, but I got an even better reason because I got screwed out of the title." Which it's funny for him to care about the title, or maybe this just seems like a lack of continuity because in previous Raws leading up to this pay-per-view, he said, "I don't care about winning the title. I just want to hurt Brock Lesnar." So now all of a sudden he cares about winning the title. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But whatever, I'm willing to forgive it. And then basically Ambrose tells Cena, he's like, "Look, man, you're a moth flying too close to the flame. I'm pissed off, and I'm going to hurt somebody. And you being in the ring and this close to me and within my proximity is no bueno." So shirts come off, and it's about to go down. And then, of course, the Authority shows up. And basically... I think it was Triple H who was in the middle of speaking or something, and Ambrose and Cena just basically rushed the ramp. They rushed the Authority. Ambrose chases Rollins through the crowd into the parking area and out of the building with Cena. And just how much did you like this segment? And did you feel like it would have been more enjoyable if it was just Dean Ambrose himself as opposed to Ambrose and Cena?
You know, Cena gave it that kick that Raw needed. I mean, Ambrose would have sat there all night if he had to, but them both having beef with Rollins, I mean, it gave it that flair to kickstart Raw, which had me hooked immediately. And I was waiting, this may be cliche, but I was waiting for the quote, "Is the enemy of my enemy my friend or my enemy?"
Ooh, I like that.
I was waiting for it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. WWE called this man. He's got ideas.
I got ideas. Call me.
I'm of the mindset that the enemy of my enemy is not my friend. Totally not. Just because he's my enemy's enemy doesn't mean I'm not going to have beef with him sometime in the future. Did you like the spot how they chased Rollins into the parking lot? Rollins basically steals some poor bastard's car, and then Cena tries to open the door, the back door I think it was, and Ambrose jumps in the kind of the hatchback trunk area, only to come flying out when Rollins speeds off. How cool was this? And in any way, do you think this is reminiscent of Macho Man jumping on the limousine of the NWO trying to climb in the sunroof?
Definitely reminiscent of that. It was awesome. I mean, I couldn't help but to laugh when I saw Ambrose fall out the back of the hatchback, and then Cena's just standing there like, duh. So it was an awesome bit, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Fair enough. Moving on then, the backstage segment, the already just happened to bump into each other. Triple H books 2 matches for the evening. One as Kane versus Ambrose, and one versus Randy Orton versus Cena. Afterwards, we have the rematch of the... I think I may be correct in saying this. The rematch of the rematch of the rematch. Hollywood Miz with Damien Mizdow versus Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title. Now, before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the match itself, did you notice that, because we've seen Damien Mizdow basically mirror as a mirror image of Miz. Anytime he does anything, Damien does it too. Did you like the idea that Miz comes out with the IC title and Damien has like a cheaper, less impressive looking version of the IC title?
He has to play the role. I mean, if he's a stunt double, he has to have the props also. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think I'm going to go out and on a limb and say that they should add another person to Miz's group. Miz should have a stunt double, but he should also have an understudy. So, like, just in case that he doesn't want to have a match, he can give somebody else. And hey, maybe you give it to someone who's not doing anything right now. Like, damn, who's on the roster that's not doing anything? I don't know. Somebody.
Don't hurt
Anybody.
yourself.
I'm trying not to, man. Trying not to. No guarantee. So this match was good, right?
It was actually pretty good. I mean, it was the rematch from Night of Champions, Ziggler versus Miz, and this was an entertaining match. Awesome. One of my favorites of the night. I mean, I stated earlier during the show, which I am getting tired of this feud. So hopefully, with Ziggler winning the belt back on Raw, which is quite surprising, that'll put an end to this feud.
Yeah, spoilers, man. We didn't get there yet.
I am sorry, but again, I'm so tired of this feud. It's like draining on me, dude.
All right. So we know Dolph Ziggler wins this match. The way he wins it, I think, is really cool, and I want to know if you enjoyed it as well. So basically, I know there's a name for this type of roll-up. It's not the schoolboy, but it's a roll-up from behind. Oh, God, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. But basically, you drop down on your back, and you throw your legs up, and I believe you catch under the arms with the toes of your boot and then roll them up. So Miz rolls Ziggler up into this position and gets a hold of the tights and kind of gets some white butt meat showing here. And then, of course, what's interesting is that Ziggler rolls through that into his own version of the roll-up and pins Miz for the title. I know that you're not so much interested in the feud, but does the fact that they're two things. Does the fact that the title is frequently changing hands, I'm of the opinion that actually strengthens the prestige of the title. And would you at least like to see one more match in this feud before they go wherever else they're going with this?
Ted, I'm going on record to say, no, I would not like to see a third match. I am so tired of this feud. Ziggler, I mean, I understand changing hands brings prestige to the belt, but they got to add more flavor in there. He has to go against other wrestlers. He needs to go against bigger, stronger wrestlers to give it more prestige. But The Miz already held the title before, so it's like really just not adding too much prestige to it. But again, he needs to go ahead and be a fighting champion and take on anybody that wants to go for that belt. So as of right now, I want this feud to end. I do not want to see this next Monday. So.
Well, now that we know your thoughts on that, I'd like to move on into the next segment. Is that cool?
Let's keep this ball rolling.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Inspiration himself, Bo Dallas, up against Jack Swagger with Zeb Coulter. It's a relatively short match, very good match, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When you watch Bo Dallas, very, very reminiscent of, I believe he's the son of Mike Rotundo, or Rotunda, depending on which federation he's in, and he's the nephew of Barry Windham, but he moves very much like Barry Windham, very, very smooth, very much on top of his stuff. Occasionally there's a mess up here and there, but he's really, really good. I think the world of him, and I think he's going to have a very long and prosperous future so long as he remains relatively injury-free and no wellness violations. Bo Dallas, unfortunately, he taps out to the Patriot Lock, and Zeb Coulter basically says, Bo, leave. Swagger made you tap out. Did you what did you think of this match, and do you think this is the end of their feud, or if this is just continuing on a little bit longer? Oh, honestly, and third question, I'm sorry. Did you think it was weird that we didn't get this match at the pay-per-view?
Honestly, I'm not believing that it should have been pay-per-view material. I mean, but I will admit that they did go. They went at it. I mean, it was overall a great match. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I also liked that little bit that Zeb said at the end, if you will, Ted.
If you will. um, so yeah, that was that for that match. Summer Rae with Layla versus Natalya with Rosa Mendez. First thing is, thank you for not putting Eva Marie in this match. Oh my God, oh my stars and garters. Thank you so much for not featuring her in this match. She is awful. Not that Rosa Mendez is much better, but she is better-ish. Summer Rae cuts a promo, kind of with a Total Divas storyline, and they have a super quick match that really doesn't mean much of anything. Did you have anything that you wanted to talk about, or can we just keep it rolling?
Only thing I want to add is that I love Natalya. Awesome. Definitely underused. So let's go ahead and just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. She's really fantastic. Very underutilized. She should be doing more. So then we come to one of the matches that was booked earlier in the evening, or at least earlier on the TV, which was Ambrose versus Kane. So basically the overall breakdown is that Dean hits Kane at the very end with the dirty deeds. He's moments away from winning the match. Seth Rollins interferes, costing him the match, and begins the attack on Ambrose. And then basically Rollins and Kane get the upper hand. So just a couple of quick questions here. Number one, what did you think of the match itself? And number two, were you surprised that John Cena did not show here, considering he supposedly has this beef with Rollins for costing him the title?
Well, honestly, I'm not surprised that John did not show, but that's supposed to be his gimmick. He's supposed to be the good guy, superhero, blah, 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 and he's nowhere to be found. But during the match, I mean, not too many people can go with Kane, and Ambrose definitely put it to Kane. I was quite surprised to see Ambrose go as well as he did against somebody that much stronger and bigger than he was.
And they had a killer match, right?
It was awesome. It was an awesome match.
I don't think that many... Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I definitely saw Ambrose winning this one after just a few back and forth with Kane, and you knew Ambrose was going to win.
It's funny too, because I don't think Kane is bad. I don't think I've ever thought Kane is bad, but Kane is one of those guys who can't have a great match with just anybody. It's one of those guys that you kind of have to have either a chemistry or there has to be something there. And I think that with Ambrose is so good, he could just add little bells and whistles here and really kind of help that up. But they killed it. And I'm not the world's biggest Kane fan, at least in this particular version of Kane. But yeah, man, I thought it was killer. And then, you know, of course, Rollins showing up, boo, you sold out, you know, all that good stuff. I was kind of surprised with the lack of Cena, only because Cena made it a big deal that, hey, well, you're allowed to have beef with Rollins, but I have more important beef because he cost me a title. And then you would think that this guy would be watching the show, so that way, if at any point he shows up, like, okay, quick tangent here. So in storyline, we say that we know Dean Ambrose watches the shows and the pay-per-views. Why? Because Seth Rollins offers an open invitation, and, you know, 5 minutes later, Dean shows up in a taxi. So he's watching it, let's say he's watching it in a bar or in his hotel, whatever. So you would think that Cena kind of applies the same idea that he would be watching as well to kind of get an idea, oh, there he is, I'm going to go after him, you know, blah. But whatever it is, I'm over it. Moving on. We got a Triple H bumping into Rollins and Kane's backstage, and then Dean Ambrose just runs in and just jumps Rollins. Triple H says, get him out of my building, get him out of my building, and Steph starts screaming. She says, no, put him in that room over there. Have we ever kicked someone out of a building that hasn't come back? This guy's too much of a loose cannon, and quote, at least now we have him under control. A couple of quick questions here. One, how awesome was this segment? Two, how great is Stephanie McMahon? And three, how cool is it that they kind of acknowledge that, yeah, kicking people out of the building never works, and this is some old tired wrestling trope that we need to do something with?
Just definitely refreshing. I mean, new kick to an old spin. So I mean, they bind his hands together and put him into a dressing room, and then they just guard the door like Cena did to Heyman.
Oh, you're right. You're right. That was just a couple weeks ago, right?
Right. So, I mean, again, a new kick to an old spin.
Fair enough. We got our surgery update on Roman Reigns. He's maybe up for a couple of months. After that, we had the Usos and Sheamus versus the Dust Brothers and Cesaro.
Okay, Ted?
Yeah.
Before you go into the play-by-play, I just wanted to throw some comparison in there that I noticed during this match, which actually made me laugh.
Do it.
Okay, we have two tag teams, which are both brothers. Both wear face paint.
Yep.
The two other wrestlers for the six-man tag, both European.
Yep.
So I mean, look at how this match actually intertwines on both sides. The Usos with Sheamus, along with the Dust Brothers and Cesaro. I mean, there's so much comparison there.
I hadn't thought about that. You could even take that a step further, right? Because the Usos are twins, and Cody and Goldust probably have about 10 years difference, maybe a little bit longer. But with the Goldust and Stardust character, they might as well be twins, just of a different era. But yeah, no, I really think I dig the observation. And you're right. That didn't occur to me. They had a balls match here. So,
it was awesome.
What were your overall thoughts on this?
With this match, this match was my favorite of the night. I mean, there was bodies flying everywhere. The Usos going crazy. We had the bizarre ones off the chain. Then we had the powerhouses, Sheamus and Cesaro, going at it. It was an awesome match. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and this match, by far, was my favorite of Raw. Hands down, big time.
Yeah, it was good. Would you consider this almost a pay-per-view level match in that how good it was?
I would. Yes, I'm going to go on the record and say, yeah, this match was pay-per-view level. Definitely.
Yeah, I really got into it. And I'm curious of what you think, because there's one spot in this match that really, really got me hooked. And that's when, because Goldust and Stardust are going back and forth in and out of the ring, and then Cesaro's like, I don't want any more of this horse shit. I can't wait any longer, and then forcibly tags himself in. And then he looks at the one Uso, he says, you get the hell out of here. Tag in Sheamus. I want to wrestle Sheamus. To me, that stuff never gets old, right? Someone gets tagged and he's like, no, I got beef with that guy. How awesome was that? Just because he's all business and he doesn't want anybody but Sheamus.
For real. It's like make it seem like he was forced into the six-man tag. And he just wanted to get his piece of the pie and run with it, so.
Fair enough.
It was an awesome match, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And in the end, the Usos went with a frog splash, although they are still not the tag team champions. That was decided at Night of Champions. So they're gonna have to either have their reach and then maybe afterwards get a spot as the #1 contender. Anything else you wanted to add before we keep this ball rolling?
Let's keep this ball rolling, Ted.
Keeping this ball rolling, we got a backstage segment. Man, we got a lot of these this week. Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. Now, to give some setup, basically, earlier in the show, Randy Orton comes up to Triple H and says, hey, you better tell your boy Rollins to stop starting all these fires that we have to put out. Rollins basically comes over and kind of a little bit of a kiss ass, right? And says, hey, man, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you had to clean up after my mess. Don't worry, bro. I got you covered. I got a surprise for you. Randy Orton apparently loves surprises, and basically says him and Kane are going to be at ringside. So we'll kind of get further into that when we arrive at that match. Next, though, we have an in-ring promo with Mark Henry. Two questions. One, because we already talked about how awesome a performer Mark Henry is, but should Mark Henry feel bad for letting 318 million Americans down? And two, is Rusev not one of the baddest dudes on the roster right now and probably in the best position storyline-wise out of anybody?
As of right now, Rusev is the badass. Big Mac eating, Whopper killing badass that he is. I mean, he beat Mark Henry at the pay-per-view. I mean, he's gone through swagger. I mean, he's just cutting people down. He's just steamrolling as it goes through. I got a prediction that may throw us completely off, but I'll go and provide those thoughts after Ted provides you with the play-by-play.
Fair enough, and I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are on that. So basically, Henry comes out, cuts a promo, basically apologizes because he let 318 million Americans down, as you should, Mark, as you should. Basically, Lana and Rusev, gorgeous, delicious, yummy Lana, comes out and cuts a promo on Henry, and then basically tricks Henry into having another match with Rusev, to which Rusev basically just destroys Mark Henry. And I love me some Mark Henry, but I think they're very smart in their usage and positioning of Rusev. It's in my opinion, it's very, very similar to Umaga. And Umaga was probably one of my favorite Samoans of all time. Now, obviously, Rusev's not Samoan. I think he's from Bulgaria. But there's something about that that's very, very similar. Like there's a very animalistic thing going on where it's just like man-beast. Not in the same way of Brock Lesnar being the beast incarnate. But basically, Rusev gets Mark Henry in the camel clutch. And I'm going to say Rusev wins by technical knockout, TKO, because Henry didn't tap out. He didn't submit, but he just passed out. It's kind of a weird rehash that we've already seen with Swagger. So, two things. One, I want to hear your prediction. And two, do you think it's weird that this just seems that it's a rehash of exactly how they transitioned out of the Jack Swagger feud where Swagger didn't tap, he just passed out?
I mean, I did notice the pattern also, but I mean, as of right now, I'm not really too worried about it. I mean, but moving forward into my prediction, right now, Rusev is undefeated. He has the tenacity to go with Brock Lesnar.
Ooh. That's not a bad idea, right? Because Rusev supposedly... Mikey likes it. I mean, excuse me, Ted. What am I talking about? Ted likes
Teddy
it.
Likey.
Alcohol. So yeah, no, I really like that idea, right? Because it kind of plays into the overall idea that when they were originally bringing up Rusev, he is a super athlete, right? And then he's legit a super athlete, believe it or not. Like if you go look up that stuff, he's like legit a Muay Thai guy and a number of other combat sports related type deal. So a Rusev. Wow, Rusev-Lesnar match. I would, man. All right, so I'm with you on it, but let's follow it to the next step. Who do you want to see win? Do you want to see Lesnar be the first person to break that streak, or does Rusev go over?
See that? I mean, I couldn't give you an answer right now, even if I wanted to. I mean, because there's so many factors to play into that background on each guy, their wrestling style, the technique. So, I mean, just there's so many factors in that I couldn't even give you an answer just yet. So tune in next week, and I may have an answer for you. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, moving on, we're going to play my favorite new game on Ted and Papa, the Wrestling Exchange. It's called Who the Hell is in the Damn Bunny Suit? Heath Slater and Titus O'Neil versus Adam Rose with the Bunny. I have a guess as to who's in the bunny suit this week, and I'm a firm believer that it's a different dude each time. Papa, I'm not even going to ask you about the match because it's a squash match. It's just a palate cleanser for the main event to come. So, quick question: who do you think is in the bunny suit this week?
okay. Well, giving off the match, I mean, the Bunny used a lot of kicks, and I'm trying to figure out who uses that many kicks. I mean, as far as I can tell right now, the only person that I could see in that bunny suit using that many kicks, Rob Van Dam.
That's not a bad guess. That's not a bad guess. Now, all of this is speculation. It's merely just conjecture, if you will, because we don't obviously, if you will, Daddy, but we don't know who's actually in the bunny suit. I believe that this week, Dean Ambrose was in the bunny suit. There was one particular spot where he did this kind of weird missile drop kick. I think it was from the second rope. And it was a picture-perfect Dean Ambrose missile drop kick. I just can't shake the feeling. I think the first time he did anything physical, it was Tyson Kidd. Then I think it was Justin Gabriel. Right now, I think it's Dean Ambrose. And how funny would it be if it was, alcohol, considering the overall storyline that he was locked up. But that's just my thought. Hey, peoples, comment. Tell us who you think is in the bunny suit this week, and hopefully we can just keep playing this game every week. I think it would be a blast. Moving on beyond the bunny nonsense, because this asshole bunny keeps hopping, and I really hate that. We had a Brie Bella in-ring promo where she calls out, oh, no, wait, I have that backwards. I think it's Nikki Bella, where she calls out her sister. There's a verbal exchange. Brie slaps Nikki. Out comes AJ. Paige joins the commentary team, and then we have AJ Lee versus...
Brie Bella.
No, AJ Lee versus Nikki Bella. I switched it in my notes. I was probably drinking. So two things. Number one, what do you think about the match? And number two, how awesome is Paige commentary?
Well, Paige is right now, she's got that cycle thing working for her with the frenemies. But going towards the match, AJ made quick work of this Bella. She made quick work. I mean, let me tell you, AJ, she's awesome in the ring, and she sold everything that came her way. But AJ made quick work of her big time, which I was thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, she's really good, right? And I forgot to mention, at the pay-per-view, I think she had Nikki Bella in the Black Widow. She had Bella or Paige in the Black Widow, and she's so good that the other girl, or other lady, whatever, started to fight out it, only for AJ to, I don't know how to describe it. She had it on, but then I think it was Nikki, and then Nikki powered out a little bit, and then she just kind of cinched down and slapped it back on again. She's amazing, right? And it's just brutal. It's like you put that. Oh, was it Paige?
It was Paige.
It was Paige. All right. Well, that being said, it's time. It's time. It's main event time. Randy Orton, with Kane, with Rollins, versus John Cena. Couple of questions here. Number one, I want to hear your overall thoughts on the match. Number two, are you as tired as I am as seeing these two guys wrestle for the past 10 years? It's almost like they've wrestled each other 10,000 million times. And three, well, you know what? We'll save three until after we talk about the match, and we'll get into the ending part. So what did you think about the match, and are you just super tired of seeing these two guys wrestle each other?
Okay, this match belongs on SmackDown. It was not worthy of Raw. I mean, again, I'm with you with, I'm so tired of seeing these two guys go at it, back and forth, blase, blase, blase. I was more interested for the surprise that Rollins had for Orton at the match. So I was just sitting there just waiting for this match to be over, honestly. So if you want to provide our viewers what that surprise was,
I will, if you will.
If you will.
If you will, get it. So I had mentioned that I think Dean Ambrose was in the bunny suit earlier, right? When I was thinking about who was in the bunny suit, I was watching the show and I thought, man, wouldn't it be hilarious if they go for the surprise and then the bunny just comes out, just for no other reason, and Rollins gets paranoid and someone says, relax, that's not Ambrose. Ambrose is locked up in that dressing room, and then all you see is you cut to a camera on the Tron, and it shows like the dressing room door is like swinging open, and there's like guards all over the floor. One's like in the doorway, and then the bunny grabs the head and slowly pulls it off to a loud pop, and it's Dean Ambrose, and you're like, oh my God, Dean Ambrose is the bunny. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Stop fantasizing about it. That was not the end. What happened was, remember those cinder blocks where Seth Rollins stomped Dean Ambrose's head into, and then tried to do it again with Roman Reigns? This time they brought out the thing. Now here's the weird part, because they made a big deal about the box that sits over top of the cinder blocks, but that's the timekeeper's table. That's always been the timekeeper's table. That's not a secret. That's not a new thing that they've been doing. So it was very weird for me to see them act as if, oh, this strange table with the sheet is here, and it's covering whatever's underneath of it. It's the fucking timekeeper's table. There's a bell that hangs out there. You want to know how I know that? Because Macho Man Randy Savage tried to kill Ricky Steamboat with that bell that was on that table probably 30 years ago. Anyway, that being said, the Kane goes to lift up the item, right? And we're all thinking, okay, it's going to be another pile of cinder blocks or, a fucking bag of spikes or whatever. And then it turns out that it's Dean Ambrose. And he's been hiding under the box the whole time. And it's like, how the hell did he get under there? How long has he been under there? How exciting was it to see that when Cena has Orton in the STF, and then Rollins and Kane interfere, and then when they go to take him out, only to find out that Ambrose is in the mystery box?
That was awesome. I mean, it was totally unexpected. And let me tell you, I was ready for John Cena to get curb stomped into the cinder blocks. I was waiting for it.
Were you ready, or did you just want to see that?
A little from column A, a little from column B.
Hey, I don't blame you.
So when they pulled the box off, Ambrose came out, and let me tell you, that was the best part of this whole match. I mean, there was bodies flying everywhere. I mean, in the end, the good guys stood triumphant while Rollins ran his Rudy Poo candy ass into the crowd, and Corporate Kane laid face down with Orton, and that ends Raw for the evening. So, but it ended strong.
It did. It ended strong, and it ended very exciting on television. So now that we have A, gone through WWE United Champions 2014, we have B, talked about Raw September 22nd, 2014. We got to talk about our Facebook question of the week. Papa, what do we got going on this week?
Okay, this week I put up, what is your favorite wrestling rivalry of all time? Meaning, who had the best chemistry, whether it be in the ring, on the mic. I mean, it had to be your favorite. So, first
Did
off,
you?
we have
I'm sorry, Papa. Did you mean like as an angle or just two guys with chemistry?
overall, both. A
Okay.
little from column A, a little from column B.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Okay, so the first one we have here is from Alex Bonilla, and he actually put a clip on there from Americana and Colonel Nanuchka from Glow. Now, I watched that rivalry, and it was in classic wrestling form, America versus Russia. And they had perfect chemistry on the mic, the banter, the wrestling, and I can understand why he liked that because he was a big Glow fan. Next, we have Frankie Matei, and he put Stone Cold and The Rock. Now, I was thinking about that also. I mean, that's one of my favorite rivalries also because let me tell you, when these two got on the mic, it was magic. The banter between these two was magic. In the ring, these guys work so well together. They sold everything perfectly, and they blew the roof off every time they got into the ring together. Next, we have Jonathan Nunez, and his favorite rivalry was HBK and Bret Hart. Now, knowing Jonathan and his age, I'm like, he never got to see that live. He wasn't even born then.
Oh, that's a shame. Hey, you know what? He can watch it on the WWE network for just $9.99.
Cha-ching! But he has DVDs that his uncle bought for him. So I mean, he's watched the rivalry, and right now it's his favorite. So Ted, what is your all-time favorite rivalry?
Oh man, this is fun because this is also my favorite wrestling angle of all time, and I'm so super happy no one has mentioned it yet. I'm talking about the explosion of the mega powers, brother. I'm talking about Macho Man Randy Savage, Miss Elizabeth, Hulk Hogan versus the Twin Towers, Akeem the African Dream, a.k.a. the One Man Gang, and the Big Boss Man, okay? They have a match. I think it's Saturday Night Main Event. And Hulk Hogan's been saying stuff in interviews like, "Oh man, I love Elizabeth, brother. I love her just as much as I love Randy, brother." And then, I think Elizabeth takes a bump. The story goes that it was Elizabeth's idea to do this angle, and basically she takes a bump. Hogan takes her back to the paramedics, and Randy's like, "Whoa, bro! Like, come on! Like, you're my tag team partner. Like, Elizabeth can wait." Because Randy's character was kind of a jerk. The reason why I say this is my favorite rivalry of all time is because I remember this match as a kid, watching it on tape, and having the perspective that Hulk Hogan was doing the right thing, and Randy Savage was being kind of an asshole, right? But watching
Right?
it back as an adult, there's like this other layer here that I didn't understand, and it's like, hey, what are you doing with Macho's woman, telling him that you love her? That's not cool, man. Encroaching on Macho Man's territory. Macho Man would say stuff, "I see lust in your eyes, brother." Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dig it. It was awesome. That's my favorite feud of all time because, of course, it culminates, I think it was WrestleMania 5, right? I'm going to say WrestleMania 5. If I'm wrong, comment down below, let me know. I'm pretty sure I'm not, though. But yeah, man, and then you had the hottest tag team of all time implodes over a woman. One of the most oldest stories that you could possibly tell, but yet it's relatable. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Papa, I want to hear what you got to say, man.
Okay. Well, let me say that there are so many great rivalries out there. Most of them were awesome. I mean, not only on singles, but also with the tag teams. I mean, we have. I mean, I go back to Dusty Rhodes and the Four Horsemen.
Oh man.
That was like one of the first that actually got me into thinking about it. Then we can go into Superfly Jimmy Snuka and Mr. Mr. Fuji, and then we have one of my favorite rivals. I mean, they didn't really have too much banter. Macho Man versus George the Animal Steel.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And let me tell you, I mean that one. I mean, just because George the Animal Steel, he played that mentally handicapped part so well that he wasn't all there, and then Macho Man just totally just dogging him, but then yet George Animal Steel comes out winning. And then Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy. We have Big John Studd versus Andre the Giant.
Oh, the slam match, yeah. Classics, brother. Preach it.
I mean, there's so many of them that I can't just decide on one. I mean, but if I had to decide on just one, it would have to be, just because of the tenacity of it, The Rock versus Farouk.
Okay. We're talking post blue headgear, Farouk. We're talking Nation of Domination, right?
Exactly. When The Rock took over the Nation of Domination.
Yeah, fight for that big dog spot. I like it. Very cool.
Yeah, so that's my pick as my favorite rival. I mean, there's so many good ones out there. There's too many to mention, but if I had to go in favorite, The Rock versus Farouk. Damn! But other than that, I mean, that's all I got to say about that.
Well, speaking of that's all you got to say about that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that wraps up our show for this week. Papa, is there anything else you wanted to add to this discourse before we go ahead and ride off into the sunset?
Pay attention to the Facebook page. I will be posting a new question right after the show. Thank you for watching. Ted and Papa love you. And good night. Peace.
Well, Papa might love you. I don't know if I love you, but thank you very much. Like, comment, subscribe. Papa loves you. I may or may not, depending on a number of factors. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Wrestling Exchange with Ted and Papa. Thank you very much. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell your friends. Embed, share. Ooh, yeah. Dig it.